What's good, YouTube? Just a casual nerd here, and today I want to talk about The Boys, more in particular the season finale that just aired this past Friday. I'll talk about a little bit of the whole season, but mainly I want to focus on the season's finale. Want to give my thoughts on it, and I'll probably kind of give my thoughts on where it kind of fits. I think in this whole superhero era of TV shows and movies in general. But going back to the actual finale of the show, I thought it was actually a pretty good finale. I think that most of the character arcs kind of at least wrapped up at least semi nicely by the end, but it also left room to actually do a new season. I found with like a lot of shows today, more particularly a lot of like superhero shows, what they'll do is they'll kind of not wrap up some certain character arcs, or it kind of just keeps leaving it up to the next season to kind of solve those issues, rather than solving some character arcs but then leaving some open-ended in order to continue the plot. So we have characters like Soldier Boy, who for now he's kind of been put under ice, kind of like kind of like Captain America, so that he can probably come back at a later season, possibly, but he doesn't really have anything left to do at this point, so it kind of makes sense for him to kind of be put on ice since all his former teammates are dead. So he was kind of a man out of place, so putting him on ice until they kind of figure out what to do with him kind of makes sense, whether that's next season or if they do a season 5, whether a later season. We have Maeve, who took down Soldier Boy, but who has now lost her powers, but she didn't really want to be kind of a hero, didn't want to be with Vought anymore anyway, so it makes sense for her to go try to live a regular life, but also she has to of course live in hiding from Homelander. But it makes sense for our story to wrap up in that fashion. We do have Butcher, who is one of the main characters, and his story is obviously going to continue going since he's one of the main characters, but he did get the diagnosis that he will possibly die soon, and then you have the other issue with the kid, Ryan, which is Becca and Homelander's biological son, but Butcher kind of took him on as a son and was supposed to protect him, but now he's with Homelander, and Homelander's basically has taken him, obviously kind of like a son, but also kind of as an apprentice, someone who's gonna kind of also praise him, someone who looks up to him. So that's a dilemma that they're gonna have to, that he specifically gonna have to face. So there's a lot of story threads that's left to still kind of pull and tug on, but they also did close out some characters' arcs, and kind of left some characters kind of in a weird place. How like the Deep and A-Train, who Homelander both basically said he's willing to kill them at any point in time. So you kind of got to figure out what they're gonna do, even though they were pretty grimy this season. Not gonna lie. They did some very grimy things this season, but it's The Boys, so everyone kind of does something grimy for here and there. But I want to talk about that ending fight scene. My only complaint about the fight scene is that I do wish that Soldier Boy and Homelander actually fought one-on-one some more. I would liked to see that, but I understand the precautions they had to take. I mean, it's Homelander and they had a job to do, so I get kind of like trying to jump him, so I do understand that. But I did enjoy the fight that he had between Maeve and Homelander. At first Homelander did show that he was a lot stronger than her, but Maeve, she's actually been training to fight, where Homelander, he already basically thinks he's perfect, so he doesn't, or at least we don't actually see him training, so it doesn't like he does. He's just generally stronger than everybody, like from a genetic standpoint. But Maeve did show that she did have some fighting chops. She made Homelander bleed, so I did definitely enjoy that fight. And the fact that Butcher had a reason to turn on Soldier Boy, I thought that was a good little change, that even though he wants to see Homelander dead, he still has a heart out for Ryan, since that is Becca's also biological child, who he's supposed to he promised to protect. So I thought that was a good dynamic. And then you had Starlight fight Soldier Boy and Huey, with the assist with the lighting. Now I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of want to see where Starlight was about to basically get destroyed by Soldier Boy. I did kind of want to see Huey teleport in and like just punch Soldier Boy, kind of get some type of redemption, because Soldier Boy is Soldier Boy has been roasting Huey like the whole season, so I thought that would have been cool. But I did understand that he first of all made a promise to Starlight, and also didn't want to die being the same boat as Butcher. So it makes sense for him not to take the temporary V in that scene. And I want to definitely highlight MM. He has been basically the emotional part of, well, I won't say the only emotional part, but a big emotional part of this past season. Dealing with you know dealing with the custody of his child, and then dealing with actually coming face to face with Soldier Boy. So he's definitely been carrying a huge emotional load in this season. I think you can really feel in each episode that he's actually trying to be a good person, trying to do the right thing, and trying to like balance the two. And I think he had a good arc, because by the end, he was able to tell his daughter, "Hey, like, this is the truth. Like, I'm try my best, but I get he said basically I get angry sometimes." He was basically able to open up and show himself fully to his daughter. So I thought he had a pretty good arc from like the first episode of the season to the season finale. I thought they did really well with that. And then again, him trying to face Soldier Boy one-on-one, trying to redeem not only himself but his father, basically his family. I thought it was good. Obviously, he's not gonna be able to beat Soldier Boy. Unless he was to take some temporary V, maybe. But Soldier Boy, Soldier Boy. But I thought he had some very good scenes in this season. And now we should probably talk about Frenchie and Kimiko. Now, I will say their arc wasn't the strongest in the season, but I do appreciate that they can have their own kind of arc too, their own kind of mini arc outside of what's normally going on with the boys and the Homelander. That they kind of had their own things going on, their own problems. So I do appreciate, even though I wasn't a big, huge fan of what they had going on, or I wasn't as interested, I thought it was still pretty good. It makes sense. It still makes sense within the storyline that they was trying to tell. So I'm not mad at that. And even though Huey and Starlight kind of had their own subplot and struggles going on in the season, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of getting a little bit annoyed with their situationship they had going on, because it kept going back and forth. They just had different opinions and different views on things, and it was getting kind of annoying. Not gonna lie to you, but at the end, it seemed okay. They kind of got back on the same page. I was at first gonna say that they should just break up, and that'll probably be better for the show. But at the end, it seems like they kind of had a kumbaya, and it still makes sense for the story. And then you still have Victoria Newman out there, who's now running. Well, I guess got chosen to be a vice president candidate, and who we all know is like the head popper. So that will be interesting to see what they're gonna do with that. They said it, but that's basically her next target, which I do agree. She can't be trusted, but I'm not sure what they can actually do to her, because they really didn't also explain how her powers work. Like, is there a prerequisite before she pops something or a body part? It looks like her powers have something to do with blood related, but it's not exactly explaining how it works. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that and what's the plan. Like, I do agree she can't be trusted, but I still don't know what her actual plan or motives are, since she kind of disregarded Stan, and I don't believe she trusts Homelander either. So that'll be interesting. And of course, we can't finish off this review without talking about Black Noir, because that man got bodied in cold blood. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not expect him to actually die in this episode. I honestly thought that him and Soldier Boy were at least going to fight, but I see that didn't happen, due to the fact this man had his guts leaking all over the floor. And even though Black Noir has done some messed up stuff in his own right, I did at least kind of want to see him like at least try to get some revenge on Soldier Boy. Probably not win, but at least try to fight those traumatic experiences through fighting Soldier Boy. But I guess that just wasn't in his cards, which is too bad, because we only just now started learning a little bit more about his history in the second half of season 3. So they kind of pull a Naruto or anime show trope, where once you start seeing that backstory, that character's about to get clapped. So that's basically what happened to Black Noir in this one. But all in all, I think this season was pretty solid. They had a lot of good episodes in here. All the new characters they added were pretty solid, even the ones that got killed within the same season. I thought they all had something to add to the show. And I think even though we're being pretty oversaturated with superhero content, I think The Boys is definitely a breath of fresh air. Now, I will say sometimes I think personally some of the episodes may be doing a little bit too much, but I think this show is kind of necessary when you have big tentpoles like whether it's MCU or the or DC properties, and then you have all the different shows that they're now entering in through the different streaming platforms. I think The Boys has found its place, as well as I guess you can relate to Invincible. Have they found their place on Amazon to be the mature superhero content that's not so sanitized, that it's not trying to really preach or teach anything, or more so, it's anything is making fun of politics or making fun of things in the modern day sense. But I think what makes The Boys special and shows like The Invincible is that it subverts expectations, and I think that's what's missing from a lot of other superhero shows and even some superhero movies, is that they kind of, at the end of the day, they do what's expected. And I definitely am looking forward to the next season. You got Homelander, who's basically unhinged right now. He's not really accountable to anyone, and you have people who's celebrating all these antics he's currently doing. I mean, he just lasered the guy's head off, and and they cheered him on. You have Butcher, who was on the verge of death. You have the Seven themselves, who are down a couple men. So I wonder, is the Seven still going to be a thing come next season, or is that just gonna be non-existent? So they got a lot of interesting things to work with, interesting concepts, story threads to work with. So I'm definitely excited for what comes next for The Boys. And if you agree with me, go ahead and drop a comment or a like. And if you disagree with me, why don't you drop a comment and tell me what you think? But what are you even listening to me for? I'm a casual. Cue the outro.